I'm back on a bigger screen and added some dummy transactions again. Now, the last responsive change, which I want to take care of, is that if we have more width available, like in this case here, maybe we want to show more information than on smaller screens. The concrete example I have in mind is that we could show some helper text next to that trash icon. It should be pretty clear what will happen if we press that trash icon, but nonetheless, it could be interesting to, well, add some extra meta information. Also, of course, mostly that you learn how to build or add different items based on different screen size. Because thus far what we did is we took the size of the screen into account to size things differently. Now I want to add content if we have more space available, and that's a bit different, of course. For that, let's go back to the transaction list widget, which is where we output that list tile and where we also have that trash icon here. And in the end, it should be a normal icon button like this if we have limited width available, but when we have more width, I want to show a button with a text next to it. Now, of course, you already know how you can find out if we're in landscape and portrait mode. But let's say I don't really care about the orientation, I really only cared about the available width. So even if we are in portrait mode, but let's say we have a very large device, like an iPhone XS Plus or anything like that, then I might still want to show that text. So I really only care about the width and not about the orientation. And that's why the orientation property on Media Query doesn't really help us. But we can, of course, also use the size and there the width in a condition. For this here, when we render our button, we can, of course, use Media Query of context and then tap into the size and there into the width. And now simply compare that. And let's say if we have more width than, let's say, 400 pixels or 360, you can take any arbitrary value and find out what looks good. Then I want to render a button that has an icon and a text. Otherwise, I only want to render that icon button. Now for a button with icon and text, you can use a flat button, and then there a special constructor, which we haven't seen before, with dot. There's an icon constructor, and that gives you a flat button which also has an icon, but also a text. There you can then set a color, and of course I want to use the same color as I did here, like this. And most importantly, of course, we want to set an icon, which we do with the icon property. But then also a label, so that's the text shown next to the icon. And label here, if you inspect this, is a widget, but typically, of course, you use a text widget here. And there I could say delete. Now, of course, I also want to add on pressed here and do the same as on the icon button. And now with that, we have a setup which should show us that button with icon and text if we have enough space, and only show the icon if we have less space. So yeah, this generally works. Small mistake, you shouldn't set color here, but text color. If you set text color to red, now the icon and the text has the color instead of the background. And now indeed we see both. And if I would ramp this up to, let's say, 460, this device I think has 411, then we don't see that. But if I go into landscape mode where we have more width available, we see both again. So this is also a useful pattern that you can show and hide content and render different widgets based on your device size, which of course allows you to build truly flexible apps. And for now, I'll leave this at 460 here so that we can see both the icon without the text and with the text solely depending on the available device size.